We did it first. We did it first.
Steve, what's going on? What's going on, fam? Hold on.
How you doing, Coach? Good Friday to you. What's going on? Great to join you in your program.
Yes, sir. Yes, I appreciate it, Steve. I'm happy that you, Mario Lopez. As a matter of fact, before I do this, let me give Steve Kim, internationally known, what they call you, Steve? The Korean Cosell. The Korean Cosell. Steve, mother Kim in the building.
Oh, I thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we got Steve Kim here, man. Yeah, man. I spoke to Antonio Tarver, man. He said he'll come on the show. We
had a great time talking to your Tampa brethren, Antonio Tarver, and I think it's long overdue that he starts training some young fighters to impart his knowledge. And also, and me and Mario both said this, he's got to get back on the air with a major broadcasting gig because we miss his insights. He's not afraid to break down the game honestly. Yeah. Too many guys, in my view, Coach, they want to toe the party line or they're afraid to say something. They don't want to upset the fighters. And I look at Antonio Tarver and Tim Bradley as guys, they're going to give it to you straight. And they don't care if you don't like them. They don't care if you go out there and disagree with them and you don't want to. They don't care. You've got to be able to take the heat like what you do, Coach. Yeah. You're able to take the heat. Yeah. Like you're not here to pander. You're here to do a job. And so I have a lot of respect for Tarver, and we look forward to him being a somewhat regular guest on the 3 knockdown rule.
Yeah, I like Antonio, man. As a matter of fact, Antonio, we live in the same neighborhood. Like we literally live in the same neighborhood, man. Like, so, but he's very, very busy. I know he's training his son. He works with the Robinson boys out of Baltimore, those guys. So he does a lot. So it's kind of hard to catch him. I was happy to see him on the 3 knockdown rule with you and Mario. What's the situation with you and Mario with the 3 knockdown rule? You were with Triller. You're not with Triller anymore?
Yeah, Triller, as Mike Tyson would say, went to Bolivian with us. And we, our last show that we did was about 10 months ago in August. There were some other issues that had really nothing to do with me. We had to kind of pull the plug there. And so we took a long time off, so we're still trying to rebuild the audience. You just can't snap your fingers, and it's like consistency is key. Like Coach, the fact that you can come on 5-6 days a week like you have is a real testament to your work ethic, because I will say this, you can get people in the habit of listening to you by being there every day or being there consistently once a week, right? But once you stop, that same audience will get in the habit of not watching you. So you have to have a certain type of regularity to your programming, or you're going to lose that audience. And we've gone through that a little bit, but we're gaining traction, and we're at it. And Mario's busy schedule. It's not always easy, but we do make it work.
I mean, you're right about that. Consistency is the key, and that's all it's been. You got to be consistent, but you have to put out great content. If the content is not good, then you can consistently put out trash. But you guys, you have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to boxing. There's a lot that you know, and so you know what you're talking about. You're not just talking outside of your neck. What say you about this coming weekend? Well, tomorrow, I know Timothy Bradley is working the Jared Anderson versus Charles Martin fight. I'm looking at a lot of the young guns that's on here. Jaheed Tucker, Abdullah Mason, all of these guys that's on here. What say you about this fight tomorrow night? This is a big fight for Jared Anderson.
Oh, there's no doubt. Look, I really hope it's not one of the last fights of Jared. I was a little bit surprised that he's making all these proclamations that there's a lot of pressure on me and I'm out of here by 26, 27. And I'm thinking to myself, your career is just beginning, because the way the heavyweight landscape is, he's not going to really start making that really big money till he's about 26, 27. Right? Because we still have Tyson Fury, you still have Usyk, Wilder, Andy Ruiz, certainly Anthony Joshua. And most heavyweights mature, for the most part, in their late 20s. You have some anomalies like Iron Mike Tyson, but again, that's really, like I said, an anomaly. But I've been told recently that for as good as Jared Anderson is, and I think he's the best American prospect at heavyweight since Runic Bowe. I wrote that today. I sent you the article. That's how highly I think of him. But I've also been told by people close to that situation, he does boxing, but he doesn't love boxing. And I remember speaking to him during the bubble era when I was still at ESPN, and I asked him, hey, what other sports did you play? And he basically said, nothing else really organized. I just boxed. Mm-hmm. So there could be a situation where he's a little bit burnt out on the game. But ask yourself this, Coach. If you were him and all of a sudden at 26, 27, that deadline starts to crop up, and now you're starting to make millions and maybe 8 figures, do you suddenly walk away? I mean, again, that means you have to save every single dollar. You have to live a disciplined lifestyle. And if you want to create that generational wealth, is it worth it for you to just stop right at that moment? That's the question he's going to have to ask himself.
Nah, you know what? That's to me, that's crazy because he's not making any real money right now. Just like with your, you're not saying that, but he's not really making any real money now in comparison to what he's going to be making in the future. If he keeps going down this trajectory that Top Rank has him on, he will become a champion. He will become the face of boxing and the face of the heavyweight division in America. Because let's be real, we ain't got nothing really. The American heavyweight scene is dead. It's dead. Yeah.
I mean, Coach, here's what I've seen since I've gotten into this game as a bona fide media member. It's like the beginning of Michael Grant. Most of our American heavyweights, even a Deontay Wilder, they took up boxing really late because they played basketball, football, maybe baseball, went to college. And when their professional aspirations did not work out, then they turned to boxing, like Gerald Washington, Seth Mitchell, Jamil McCline. I knew a couple of guys at the University of Miami. One of my good friends, Quatrine Hill, he tried his hand at boxing. Jared is that anomaly in a sense that age 7 or 8, he just boxed. He went to all the tournaments, didn't play any other sports, no AAU basketball, didn't play tackle football at his size. He just boxed. And when you see the way he moves, how fluid he is, the ability to switch shit, power in both hands, to slip and counter and get underneath punches and bring back big shots, you're like, wow, there's not a lot of big men that can do that. And then be so athletic about it. And if he can catch, he's going to be tough. But here's the ironic thing, Coach, about that video with Roy Jones, which was produced by Top Rank in that one segment that went viral. He is saying a lot of the same things about quitting this sport early like Roy Jones did. If you go back to the early to mid-90s, Roy Jones used to tell everybody, oh, I'm getting out of here early. Boxing's not going to use me. I'm going to use boxing. I don't need boxing.
I remember
and remember that? And, Coach, guess what? Now he's still boxing against bodybuilders now. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Good grief.
Yeah, Roy can't let it go. Steve, I just had Rick Gage on, and I had some of the same questions I wanted to ask you. Canelo,
sure.
Now Canelo is signed to the PBC. It's rumored that he signed a 3-fight deal. Oh, are you surprised that he made that move, or you're not surprised?
Not really. And I said this on the 3 Knockdown rule a couple days ago. Canelo consistently has always gone where the fights are, whether it's the zone or PBC. Some people, I know Mario was a little bit surprised it was a multi-fight deal, but look, we have to start praising fighters or expecting fighters to go where the fighters are and not stay on their side of the street where it's safe harbor. We have to be honest about it. Ask yourself this, even if you hate the PBC with all your passion and you believe Al Haymon is the second coming of the Ayatollah, as a boxing fan, because all these fights now with Canelo are pay-per-view. The zone is now pay-per-view. They didn't get rid of it. They didn't kill it. They're now exploiting it, which is their right. But think about this, Coach. Would you rather pay for a fight against the guys at PBC, the names that we've mentioned, and I like certain fights more than others, or guys like Edgar Berlanga? Berlanga is nowhere near ready or deserving of a fight at that level. He's still a very raw, underdeveloped prospect.
Yeah.
The only fight, believe it or not, and I agree with you 100%, Coach, the only fight that they brought up on the PBC side of the roster that I don't really like is Errol Spence. That's a physical mismatch. All the other fights I like. The question that I have is he going to actually fight the Mexican monster, David Benavidez? That's the question. That's the question.
That's the $1 million question. And when I heard this rumor that, hey man, next year Canelo potentially could be fighting Errol Spence. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You know,
Yeah.
you got he has Crawford to deal with July 29th. So,
Coach, if Crawford ends up slaying the big fish, right? And that's at 47 against the guy who won his first world title at 135 in Crawford.
Yeah.
So that means if he doesn't win that fight, you suddenly want to see him move up from 47 to 68 to fight Canelo. It makes no sense. Makes no sense to me.
It makes no. I mean, even if he beats Crawford, which I don't foresee him doing it, but I'm saying even if he beats Crawford, giving him the benefit of the doubt. Can you give me an example of a fighter? You know boxing very well. Can you give me an example of a fighter who skipped? I said 3-weight division, but Rick later corrected him. He says 4-weight divisions. Move up from 147 pounds straight to 168. You don't fight nobody at 54. You don't fight nobody at 60. You get to 68, and you don't get a touch-up fight at 68. You know, you fight the top guy, like the creme de la creme of 68. Can you give me examples of that?
Well, I know you and Rick. Well, I know you and Rick went through some of the names. I know he brought up Shane Mosley, went from 35 to 47, but keep this in mind. Shane Mosley actually had 2 fights at welterweight after he moved up. He fought Wilfredo Rivera, and that fight was a tough fight, Coach. He needed that last round knockout to seal the deal. That fight was hanging in the balance. And then he blew out Willie Wise in 2 rounds. So, he moved up and he skipped the weight class. He didn't go straight to De La Hoya. And now you look at Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran actually had a couple of fights at 47 before he fought Ray Leonard. People forget about that.
Yeah.
So my view is this: if you're gonna go, and again, I'm talking about Errol Spence, from Terence Crawford, regardless of the result, all the way up to 68. Look, will the fight do business because of the Spence fanatics? I assume. But let's say he loses. First of all, I think there's going to be a rematch, Coach. I have been told by everybody in the business, regardless of what happens July 29th, someone's going to enforce that rematch clause.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I know that for a fact. So, I was told that. It's a rematch. He told me that. Yeah.
So now let's go with our scenario, because I agree with you. I think Crawford wins that fight. So then let's say Crawford wins the rematch. Okay, so now you're still going to do Spence coming off 2 straight losses at welterweight to Terence Crawford. That doesn't seem to make sense, really.
I mean, even if they split, you know, it's.
Well, now if they split, guess what we're doing? The trilogy. This thing becomes Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, the trilogy.
They're just going to do one sequel after another, Coach.
And then my thing is Rick is. I mean, sorry about that. I'm saying Rick. My thing, Steve, is this: if. Because I thought about this. I said, man, this dude will get killed. I don't think no welterweight in the welterweight division will beat Canelo Alvarez. I don't care who it is. You know what? That's just my opinion. But I say from a stylistic standpoint, his style is tailor-made for Canelo Alvarez. Flat-footed, front foot dominant, work off the jab, come forward fighter. He gonna get killed. You're gonna fight him on the inside and all that stuff there. I said, man, he gonna get murdered.
Weight classes matter. They're in place for a reason. And we all thought Mikey Garcia moving up 2 weight classes against Spence was reckless. I don't know what this is. Again, the centerpiece of this deal, we do not know. There's really nothing that's been said about if Benavidez is part of this 3-fight deal.
Yeah.
I was told about a month and a half ago that Canelo's team, they were not going to do the B-ball rematch. They just said bad style. It doesn't matter what weight. I tried to warn the B-ball people, you better start making your own plans. And I think they were kind of a little delusional in thinking they had more leverage than they did, because they did not, because Canelo is Canelo. So my question is, if you're Benavidez, now what do you do? I thought it was awfully strange, Coach, that about a week and a half ago, Samson Lewitz is telling people like Dan Rafael, who I trust, hey, we've got the fight. We're fighting Morrell. And I'm thinking, wow, that is a very risky fight for relatively low reward. And then I knew something was wrong when Benavidez himself said, I don't know about that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So they got to get their story straight, because if you are Benavidez and you think you have any shot with this current deal to fight Canelo, you're not getting within 50 yards of Morrell, who I believe is very dangerous.
That's another thing. Samson Lewitz, and he's been on several different people's on platforms, G Funkies and stuff like that. Different people I know, he said that, hey man, we sent Canelo millions of dollars. Because I heard 50 million, then I heard 40 million. I don't know, an offer. And then right after that, we hear that Canelo has signed a 3-fight deal with the PBC. Now, we don't know if it's a 3-fight deal or not, but this is what we've been hearing from the Carpenters and the Raphaels and stuff like that. So whoever, their sources told them some things. So we really don't know the details of it. But it's like, damn, okay. Samson Lewis allegedly, sent Canelo an offer to fight Benavidez, but then we hear Canelo and Eddie Reynoso is on a plane, and they went to Cleveland, Ohio, to meet with Al Haymon personally. So,
Coach, my sense is Samson was talking out of turn, and my view is this: where did Samson get $50 million? I don't. I think there's a little bit of grandstanding there. And by the way, even the Charlo fight, I still can't get out of my mind that Jermall Charlo has not fought in about 2 years plus.
Yeah.
And when he fought against Montiel Macias, he got marked up. I mean, did you see a guy on that particular Juneteenth of 2021, Coach, that's going to really trouble Canelo that much?
Hell no.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see it. And then especially coming off over a 2-year layoff, you haven't been punched, hit. I mean, sparring is one thing, but you're going through a lot of stuff. You don't live the lifestyle of a boxer. Everybody know that. That ain't no damn secret. So yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I mean, he could potentially maybe he'll have the fight of his life and this and that. That's possible. But coming off a more than 2-year layoff is highly unlikely, in my opinion. Let me get the super chats out of the way. Shout out to Uncle Burnt Apostrophe, dropping that $2, dropping those 2 pounds. He said, does Steve see any traction in Atlas petition?
I really don't. Look, I like Teddy a lot. He's taught me a lot. I've known him for years, but already, and that's been about a month and a half since the horrible stoppage of Tony Weeks. So there's a lot of anger. But unfortunately, what happens in boxing is that the next week is other fights, and then the other week is other fights, and there's always a fight. People forget about it. I don't want to say it's swept under the rug, but the pages turn and people move on. I think we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
And, let's say the petition does something. Here's the problem. You got to get every single state in America to agree to it, to have a national commission, which I'm not so sure that solves all the problems. And here's the other problem, though, Coach. This is an international sport. How many other countries are going to get on board with this?
Say that, hey man. Say that again, man. Because people over here that I notice online, they feel that they only know like 5 fighters, right? Certain boxing communities, they know the same 5-6 fighters, and they feel that if nothing is popping over here in their city or in America, it's nothing. Nothing. It's not. Nothing is going on anywhere. And boxing is what you just said, a global sport. It's global.
I mean, think about it. There's a reason why Stephen Fulton, as the unified champion, is going to Japan.
Yeah.
That's where the yen is. I mean, he would not be making $3 million. I'm sick of people saying it's not fair that Fulton doesn't get to defend this in Philadelphia. Hey, guys, Fulton hasn't fought in Philadelphia in at least 6 years. Blame his people. Now, and Coach, let's be honest about this. I would ask Stephen Fulton, Stephen, would you rather make a third of the money in Philadelphia, but you get to be in Philadelphia, or would you rather make $3 million in the land of the rising sun? Fighters go where the money is.
Yep.
And you look at some of the biggest gates and some of the biggest crowds, they're in Europe. Look at Anthony Joshua.
Yep.
There are many fights that are happening now where the biggest events and the biggest crowds and the biggest gates are overseas. And now, think about this. This is the money game, right? Well, now they're all going to Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. So wrapping around to my original point, how are you going to get all these people to agree to some petition? I just don't see it, Coach.
I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Raphael, shout out to Raphael dropping $0.25 $5. He say, tell people how the refs stole the Adames versus J-Rock fight and the Lubin versus Arias fight. I went 1-for-1 on that. I pray they don't take the fight from Bud. Okay, go ahead.
Coach and Raphael, let me make this clear. I wrote this in my article for Snack on Monday. I think both referees screwed the pooch. They made a mistake. I don't believe that Mark Nelson should have stopped the Julian Williams fight. I thought it was a tad early. However, I do believe Adames was winning the fight, and it may have been another 2-3 seconds. Okay? Yeah. So I don't think it's the worst stoppage ever. The other thing is, can we be honest? And I like Cuba Arias. I've known him for years. Good guy. I thought he got up. I thought he beat the count of 10. However, he was losing almost every round, and that fight could have been over within another 30 seconds. So let's not act like it's Chavez Taylor here, okay?
They're trying to make it. Yeah, man, they robbed. They robbed. They robbed J-Rock.
I mean, this is not Ismael Barroso 2.0. Come on, let's be honest about that. It's a little bit different.
J-Rock was winning. I'm like, man, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. From what I saw, man, J-Rock was getting hit with some hard shots. I said it was just a matter of time before he gets stopped. I'm just being honest with you. So
yeah, and look, J-Rock fought a good fight. He had some moments. Yeah. And look, it's a good performance, but Adames was the stronger, fresher, younger fighter. And it seemed to me, again, I'm not the one taking punches, that his punches, Adames, had more impact than Julian Williams. And we asked Antonio Tarver, he's the fighter. I said, Antonio, did you like that stoppage or did you have a real big disagreement? Tarver said, no, not really. He actually thought the stoppage was pretty good.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, for some people, it was early, this and that, but J-Rock was getting his ass whooped at that time, bro. This dude, from what I saw, I was like, man, I didn't want to see J-Rock get knocked out, but some people wanted to see him get knocked out, so maybe you let him get put to sleep. You know, people know that J-Rock is punch resistance isn't there. That dude was hitting him hard, bro, like from what I saw, so I didn't really trip on that. The Lubin fight, Arias did beat the count. He did beat the count. The referee kind of bloated on that. I know. So I think I'm not necessarily mad about the J-Rock fight. The Lubin fight, yeah, the guy did beat the count, but it is what it is. Maybe Lubin. This is a confidence booster for Lubin. I think he doesn't beat anybody elite. I think he's done as related to that.
Well, Coach, it's one thing if Arias was winning all the rounds. So let's say he's up 4-0, and then all of a sudden that referee goes 7, 8, you're out. Well, okay, now it's suspicious. But from what I saw, and I could be wrong, and maybe people will disagree, wasn't Lubin controlling those first 4 or 5 rounds though?
Yeah, he was.
That's what I saw. Yeah, so I don't, So again, let's put it into perspective. This was not Chavez Taylor. It was not Barroso Romero.
Well, I know you said that you weren't surprised, Steve, that Canelo signed to the PBC. What chances, do you give Jermall Charlo? Everything I've been hearing is going to be Jermall Charlo in September. What chances do you give him? We did speak about the inactivity. He hasn't fought in a while. Rick said this is a cash out fight.
That could be a sad extreme. I mean, look, Jermall's going through some issues, and if he really is going through a divorce and he's got kids, look, you got to make a living here, right?
Yeah.
Look, Charlo's advantage in speed, reflexes, and quickness will be evident early, maybe.
Yeah.
But but you know me, one of my mantras is that activity matters. This game is about a fraction of inches and seconds.
Yeah.
And you got to have punch resistance. You have to build up callus.
Yeah.
I just don't think a guy that struggled against Juan Montiel Macias 2 years ago is going to be even I don't want to say declining version of Canelo, but a plateaued version of Canelo. And as the fight goes on, I just see Canelo just kind of taking over. And that's what I see. And then again, Canelo is, keep this in mind, Charlo's also moving up in weight. This is not his natural weight class.
His first fight in the weight division, you fight in the creme de la creme, Canelo Alvarez. Rick Glazer's of the opinion that, if because I don't see Jermall Charlo. If he moves up to fight Canelo, if he continues to box, I don't see him moving back down to 160.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't see that. So he will more than likely probably vacate that belt. I don't know why he's been able to hold on to it for 2 years any damn ways without fighting, but that's another story for another day. And what say you about Jermell Charlo? Do you foresee him fighting Tim Tszyu?
I actually do. I saw a thing where my guy Calix and his partner interviewed Tim Tszyu's manager, and they made it clear that we have a date. We're coming to America. We're not going to try to force anything where they come to Australia, because I think that's a non-starter. And it looks like it's going to be in mid-October. And Coach, I'm kind of with you. If Charlo just says, I don't want the Tszyu fight, I think you could start the quack sound.
Yeah.
I think you can put up that sound effect.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a duck.
Yeah, I feel that way. I definitely listen. Jermell Charlo is one of my favorite fighters. Like, him and Terence Crawford. Those are the two fighters that I really, really like. Even though they don't really dig each other too well, but I'm just saying I like those are my two of my favorite fighters. And I'm like, man, but if he don't fight this boy Tim Tszyu after you guys already had a fight set up, and the reason why it didn't happen because you broke your hand. So you broke your hand, you had surgery and stuff like that. And I just don't see that energy, from Jermell Charlo to want to fight this guy. People say that, hey, man, Charlo will knock Tszyu out. Okay, fine. Let him fight. Let's fight him. Show us you can knock him out. Let him fight. That's all I want to see.
Coach, you don't get credit for hypothetical victories. That's not the way it works. And, when Tim Tszyu beat Terrell Gaucher in February of 2022, I remember he got dumped on his butt the first round with that right hand. But he pretty much dominated the fight, hurt him a few times. I said to myself, you know what? He just doesn't look ready. Like, he's good. He's got some talent. I wish he had a little bit more seasoning. And then they scheduled the fight for late January of this year. When Charlo said, hey, I got a broken hand, I got to back off, I love the fact that Tim Tszyu's management and his brain trust said, okay, you know what? We're not going to sit and wait. We're going to take care of us. We're going to do us. We're going to worry about us. And they've gotten a lot better. I think the fight against Harrison, then the blowout against Ocampo, I think he has legitimately closed the gap to a point. It's, in my view, almost a 50-50 fight.
I see what you're saying, because what happened, what I was saying was, you know what, man, I think the worst thing in this situation, if Jermell Charlo and Tim Tszyu fight each other, I think the worst thing for Charlo was you allowed this guy to get better.
Right.
He had a couple of more fights. Some people might have questioned whether he was ready or not 3 fights ago, but now after his last 3 fights, he's been able to fight. He's getting better. And working on his timing, his rhythm, his hand-eye coordination, his speed, just cut.
Oh, he's marinated now.
Yeah.
He is marinated perfectly like a filet mignon.
Yeah.
He is ready to be taken out of the oven. He's got a lot of confidence. And look, keep this in mind, and this is just a fact. And again, I'm a big believer that activity absolutely matters. I think we saw that with Josh Taylor. Jermell Charlo has not fought since last May 14th or 15th when he beat Castano in the rematch. Keep that in mind. That's more than a year now.
Yeah. So yeah, 13 months. And then by the time him and the Tim Tszyu fight were to happen, that's going to be what, September, October?
They say mid-October that they are waiting on a date. And let's make this clear. Tim Tszyu's manager said, we are traveling. We are coming to America. Like King Akeem.
17 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a 17-month layoff.
Oh boy.
For Jermell Charlo. And
that's a fact.
That's the thing. Like I saw the interview with Tim Tszyu. He was very, very happy, Steve. He was smiling. He was like, yeah, what's my motherfucking name now and this and that. And he's like, yeah, we coming to America. I read his article. He said we coming back with those belts. And he's very, very confident. He like, look, I'm coming to America like Eddie Murphy in Arsenio Hall, and I'm coming for Jermell Charlo. Period. So, everybody who say that Jermell gonna knock him out, okay, fine, good. Good. Let's see it. That's where I'm at. Let's see him knock him out. That's where I'm at with it.
And keep this in mind, Coach. One last thing: the WBO has made it clear And that's one of the 4 major belts. They've made it clear to Jermell. Jermell, your next fight has to be against Tim Tszyu. They've made that clear. If it's not, I believe at this point, Tim Tszyu will then fight for a vacant title.
And I think at that point, that might add credence to what Rick Glazer believes, that Jermell Charlo is going to move up to 160 anyways. And if his brother was to once Jermall fights Canelo, he's going to drop his belt, and then Jermell will move up and fight Carlos Adames for the vacant title. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I like Adames in that fight.
Oh boy! And now you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Keep this in mind. Would you rather fight Adames for this amount of money or Tim Tszyu for more money? This is where, again, you got to make some decisions, because Adames, that is not an easy. And I think Adames is taking this personal with the whole Charlo family because of the way I don't think the WBC has protected his interest. I think they should have made him the interim champion and the mandatory. And it's very clear that the WBC protects Al Haymon's interest. It is what it is. Every promotional company has their organization that they're very friendly with. But truth be told, in my view, Adames is probably not really happy with the PBC because he's getting bypassed for the Charlos, or at least one of them.
Yeah.
So if you are Jermell Charlo, I would do this. I say, okay, so if I move up in weight, how much money would I get for fighting Adames? And then I say, okay, all right. Well, how much would I get for getting Tim Tszyu? Now you have a decision to make, and if it's about even or equal, I don't know which one you take.
I mean, I know one goddamn thing. I like, much as I like Jermell Charlo, I do not like him against Carlos Adames. I don't like him against Carlos Adames. I don't.
Adames' one loss came at 154, where he was about 40 pounds heavy. Months before the fight, he crashed down in weight, and you saw what happened. He ran out of gas.
Yeah.
If this is a disciplined professional camp that he runs and he has a good lifestyle, look, Adames is a very tough out, and he's got legitimate power in both hands. It's not an easy out.
Steve, I have a super chat right here. Shout out to Raphael.
Yeah.
He said he got Savannah Marshal winning over Cruz. Who do you have?
I would say Savannah Marshal is a little bit better technically. I think she throws straighter punches down the middle.
Yep.
And look, the only one that beat Savannah Marshal was Clarissa Shields. Look, Franchon Cruz has developed. She's done well. She ain't Clarissa Shields. I like Savannah Marshal at home.
Yeah, me too. I like Savannah Marshal to win this fight. To me, Franchon Cruz, she can hit hard, but she throws a lot of those overhand rights. She's very predictable. She's slow. I saw her last fight when she became undisputed. I just wasn't impressed with the performance. This is not a slight against her, not talking bad about her at all, but just from a skill set standpoint, I feel that the straight punches that Savannah Marshal throws, the way she paces herself, the way she controls the distance and range, she as you said before, she makes sure that she likes to make sure she keeps you at the end of those punches. She's very deceptive. She has very shifty footwork. A lot of some people overlook that, but she's shifty. She's not just she has very good feints. You know what I mean? So yeah, I see Franchon Cruz walking into stuff myself.
And coach, I really hope Franchon has her hair on tight. Make sure he keeps that on. Remember that one fight? I couldn't believe that one fight when she was with Golden Boy and her hair fell off, and Barry Hunter was like, take that shot. That was one of the funniest things I ever saw, coach. That was wild. That shit was wild. I was like, God damn, now I've seen it all.
Man, she trying to fix her hair. You worried about your hair?
Barry was not happy. Like, that shit off. I love Barry. Barry's a good friend of mine, and Barry's about the boxing. He ain't about that business, bro. Let me just tell you that right now.
You coming in here with that goddamn. You coming in here with that hairstyle. You got done for the club, and then you gonna come in the ring with this shit. You worried about your weave. This girl putting hands and foots on you. We try to win this fight, and you worried about your damn weave. Man, the hell with that weave.
You know what's bad about that? And I feel bad for Franchon. She's a friendly person. She can win like 5 more world titles. And to a lot of boxing fans, she will always be, oh, yeah, that's the girl her hair fell off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible, but good luck to her. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. But again, I do like the precision of Savannah Marshal.
Listen, Steve, before I let you go, I have to ask you this here. Jared Anderson, I walk the earth like a god, Charles Martin. This is the biggest name on Jared Anderson's resume to date. If he can knock out Charles Martin, now I know Jared is saying that he may want to retire, this and that, yada 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 yada, whatever. But if he can knock out Charles Martin, a former heavyweight champion, I think he was the IBF champion, if I'm not mistaken. With this, do you think that this will boost up Jared Anderson's confidence?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he's already confident. In my view, Jared may already be a lower top 10 heavyweight, even at 14-0. And we have to keep this in mind. Charles Martin was a late replacement. They had another undefeated guy that couldn't get into the country, had some immigration or passport issues. Hopefully they can remake that fight. I get the sense they want to time this out so when Tyson Fury kind of is ready to hand off the baton, or Usyk is walked away from the sunset or to the sunset, that Jared Anderson clearly has some choices at some belts. But if he's saying that, hey, I only have 3-4 more years, you're like, wow, that kind of changes plans. Look, Jared's a confident guy. I've covered him since his very first fight. I don't know if you know this. He made his pro debut the night Shakur Stevenson won his first world title against Joet Gonzalez in Reno, or I think it was Lake Tahoe. Yeah, I actually got to meet him back then. He's a very nice young man.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he made his pro debut that day. That's when I first met him. He scored a first-round knockout. I really hope that it's just him going through some things. Look, here's the thing. Once you start tasting the millions and then the 8 figures, why would you want to quit if you're not getting banged up? And that's the thing. Jared Anderson has the personality. He has the look. I think they're going to build him into an attraction in Ohio. But that takes time. And when I heard that, hey, I don't really love boxing, I'm out of here by 26, 27, I was like, wow. It was kind of disappointing, to be honest with you.
I mean, Steve, it was very disappointing to me. And the reason why is because we don't have nothing over here, Steve. Like, we don't have, bro, like, and this is no shade to the other heavyweights that's here in America. But what do we have? We have Deontay Wilder.
Right, 37.
Yeah, 37, 38, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, 37. We have Deontay Wilder. And it's like, okay, after the Fury fight was the climax, and then it's like it was just a deep dive from there. Robert Helenius is, we know how that happened. So what's the next big fight for Wilder at this point? Outside of Wilder, we don't have anything. Like, we don't have any top name heavyweights that can carry the sport in America. So the only hope that I see is Jared Anderson. I don't want to see him retire. I'm like, man, you the only hope we have right now.
No, neither do I. And look at a guy like Richard Torres, who has some ability. He's awfully small. I mean, look, Jared is a little bit small by today's heavyweights, even though he's 6'4", 245.
Yeah.
Richard Torres is actually smaller than him, much smaller, by the way. I mean, he might be the first Bridgerweight champion that Top Rank ever developed. And that's kind of a barren wasteland. But you have to have that ability. Longevity, to me, is important. That's why I think Shakur Stevenson is eventually going to break through, because he's in this for the long haul. My concern with Shakur, and I got to call Bob Arum next week to see what in the hell's going on with him, is that nobody wants to fight him because he's so damn good at what he does. But Shakur is making sure that, hey, I'm going to be in this for the long haul. I want to be a legend. So you're not ever going to hear Shakur Stevenson say, well, in a few years, I'm out. No. He understands the long game.
Yeah.
But again, with Jared, he could wake up in 3 years and say, you know what, I love boxing and I don't want to work for a living and I want to buy a bigger house with 5 more cars. Well, guess what? That costs money.
That costs money. Yeah. I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay. Steve, what do you think about, I'm doing a fight party tomorrow night. Look at this. Top Rank. Jared Anderson, Charles Martin fighting tomorrow night. The undercard, Steve, Tyler McCreary's on this card. DeAndre Ware, Jaheed Tucker. This is what I'm seeing. Abdullah Mason, I'm looking at it right now. Abdullah Mason is on this card. Tiger Johnson, Dante Benjamin. You know what I mean? Hussam Musadi. All of these.
And don't forget Abdullah Mason. That's a little killer. I love Abdullah Mason. Man. He's a blue chip prospect. And the reason why they put him on this show, and by the way, Coach, he's actually going to be on the main ESPN card.
Man.
He's not going to be on the undercard on ESPN Plus. I just saw that on the press release. Because remember, he's from Cleveland, Ohio.
He's from Cleveland, yeah.
So that's a big showcase for him. And Delonte Tiger Johnson, very skilled boxer, puncher. And Jahai Tucker had an absolute war his last fight, and I think he opened some eyes at Top Rank. And he's an ambitious young guy that wants a showdown with Xander Zayas. So I think that's a rivalry that Top Rank can build. But Abdullah Mason, he's only 18 years old, I believe, or 19. He's a special young talent. Oh, I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's a bad boy. I didn't tell you this. This is my first time telling you. I'll be flying to Cleveland. Not Cleveland. I'll be flying to Cleveland to meet his dad. Me and his dad talk on the phone from time to time. Abdullah Mason's father. Me and his dad talk on the phone a lot.
He's a good man. I saw him at the last fight. Really good guy.
Really good guy. And he told me, he said, man, when you come to Cleveland, man, you know, we're gonna roll the red carpet out for you. You know what I mean? So I'm going there personally. I'll be on the plane. I'm going on a vacation next week, but after I come back from vacation, you know, I'll be planning on going to Cleveland, probably, if not the end of July, maybe the somewhere around in August. But I'll be going there definitely, man. His father, man, is a really nice brother, man. Really nice brother.
Yeah, and very disciplined young men they have in that family. I got to talk to Abdullah after his last fight on the Devin Haney Loma card, and you could just tell by the look on the face of Abdullah, he's a very serious, measured, disciplined young human being. Yeah. If he just stays the course, he's going to do some big things. I could see him winning titles at 26 if he can keep that weight. Again, he might grow out of it. But when Top Rank first signed him about 2 years ago, they told me, Steve, that's one of the blue chippers. I said, really? He said, yes, James Prince got him. He goes, we are very excited. I could see him being a multi-division champion. I think that much of his ability.
What do you think about Top Rank have all of these young fighters? They got all of the young black fighters.
Oh yeah,
that I'm seeing
John Davis, Shushu Carrington, guys like that. Yes, and Emiliano Vargas. You know, that's an interesting question you asked me. I last year spoke to both Keyshawn and Bruce Carrington. I love Bruce. Bruce is a great young man. He's got a great head on his shoulders. I think within a year he'll be fighting for a featherweight title, and he could beat guys right now. He's that sharp. They both told me, along with Emiliano Vargas' management, the reason why they like Top Rank and the reason why they signed with them, their matchmaking, led by Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler, and the overall vision of Bob Arum and their track record of developing young fighters from all the way from the birth to the ending of their championship run. Mm. And so that's why these guys have it's really interesting, Coach. It's not just about the money with these kids. They said, Steve, we got money from everywhere. Yeah. But we wanted to be developed properly as fighters, which is the reason why they went with Top Rank.
You know, from what I'm hearing, you know, and I've heard I've heard several people tell me this. They say, man, Top Rank have the best matchmaker in boxing, period.
Yes, Brad Goodman, who just recently got inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, old friend of mine, absolute boxing fanatic. And it's amazing how we could see fights play out before they happened. Yeah. I mean, the matchmakers really know the most. And obviously, Bruce Trampler learned from the legendary Teddy Brenner himself at the Madison Square Garden. And also Bob Arum, that's one of the things that's really interesting. Bob will tell you that at his age, the thing that he really likes to do is to develop young fighters and see them grow. He had a funny joke. I heard that when he signed Jared Anderson about 4 years ago, he said, Jared, I just want to say, I hope to be there when you win the heavyweight title. Now, I may not be there for a lot of title defenses, but I think I'm going to get to your heavyweight title. So, Bob's realistic.
Doggo Bob. Doggo. Hey, man, you know what? All jokes aside, man, Bob, when it comes to recruiting talent, they know what they're doing over there. It's like they have a well-oiled machine.
And Coach, you know what's really interesting about being with Top Rank, though? Is that as a prospect, if they don't like the way you're developing, they will be very honest, and they'll tell you need to show something. Like Raymond Murataya, that's another guy. There's a couple of fights ago that they told Robert Garcia, Robert, you know we like Raymond. We didn't like that performance. You got to show us something. They made it very clear to Raymond, if you want to be moved up, you have to show us. Just winning is not enough. And now Raymond Murataya got the message. But I know this for a fact because I've had discussions with them. When they don't think a prospect is developing or has the ceiling they believed they thought they had, they'll just cut a guy or release him. I mean, it's a bit cutthroat. It's like a real professional sports franchise, the way they do it.
You know, it's amazing you say that because I think of Edgar Berlanga. Like Edgar Berlanga was, you know, he's supposed to have been the next Puerto Rican sensation. Miguel Cotto, I was hearing names. I was seeing Tito Trinidad. I'm hearing like the legends, you know. I'm like, hold on now, you guys jumping out there a little too far. You know, Rafael Gomez. I'm hearing like all types of stuff, right?
Coach, you know what happened with Berlanga?
What happened?
Berlanga kept looking worse and worse, and his management wanted more and more money. And they could never get them to understand, look, we want to develop you, but you got to go backwards. So let us match you properly. And they kept thinking that they were Trinidad in terms of what they drew, and it simply was not true. So when they parted ways earlier this year, it was not a surprise to me. I saw this coming. And what really upset Top Rank was, as a Puerto Rican, you're not even selling tickets. In fact, last year when Xander Zayas got sick when he was in Australia with Cambosis, once he was announced that he was off the card, the tickets stopped selling, and then Berlanga looked terrible that night, and he bit somebody, and he got suspended for 6 months.
Right.
And the joke was, Top Rank was really upset that the suspension wasn't just a year instead of 6 months. So, you know, you kind of saw where that relationship was going.
Hey, Steve, I tell people, I say one thing about Bob. Bob Arum doesn't run Top Rank like it's top heavy. Like we're depending on this one fighter. Like when Mayweather Promotions, they always spoke about we got Tank. Now Tank is probably he's with PBC, but he's still on that side of the fence. But I say no, Top Rank don't have one fighter. They don't have just one guy they depending on. They don't give a damn. If they gotta let you go, okay, fine, kid. If you don't pan out, kid, don't worry about it. We'll just cut you loose. You can sign with whoever you want to sign with.
I mean, Coach, this is the thing. The best thing that they do is develop fighters, and they stay disciplined within a model. Now, there comes a point when fighters think they outgrow Top Rank, and Top Rank's not in the business of losing money. But what they do is it is like a factory. They have people coming down the line. So even if Teofimo Lopez is truly retired, guess what? They have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys coming up behind them.
Right.
And then once those guys are developed, like a Keyshawn, a Shushu, and Abdullah Mason, Tiger Johnson, Murataya, guess what, Coach? You have other guys coming up behind them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It is what it is. That's the future. The youth is the future. What do you think about Jay Prince? It seems like Jay Prince and Bob Bam have a very, very good working relationship. You know, what do you think about that?
Oh, they do. They first got involved years ago when it was with Mayweather, and there was a lot of you know how that story goes. Let's keep that off the record, Anyway, but it's interesting that throughout the years, even though there was suspicion on both sides, Bob and James Prince have always done really good business. Now, there was a point in time where James wasn't really doing a lot of boxing, and then he wasn't really working with Bob, but they rekindled the relationship with Shakur Stevenson. Now, I was at Shakur Stevenson's pro debut. It was underneath Oscar Valdez against Miguel Mariaga at the StubHub Center in Carson. I remember on that Wednesday at the final press conference, I hadn't seen James Prince in about 4 or 5 years. Me and him actually get along pretty well. It's just a high-bye relationship. So I walked by James Prince, and I go, hey, James. I go, hey, how you doing, brother? And I go, welcome back home. And he just started laughing like he knew what I meant. Like he works very well with Bob Arum. And most, I would say almost every single fighter he's had has been signed with Top Rank.
Man. Why not Al Haymon? You know, that's the brother man. You know, James Prince is black, Al Haymon's black. You know, brothers sticking with the brothers. Why not that?
You know, that's a very good question. I believe James also trusts the Top Rank system of developing fighters, and James and his team. This is my view, because also part of his team is Anton Leonard, Antonio Leonard, good guy. I've known him for years. And they when you do business, this thing is about relationships.
Yeah.
And they've developed a great relationship. And James Prince and Antonio Leonard instinctively know if we are going to sink a lot of money into a fighter, and remember, Jared Anderson's also a James Prince fighter.
Yep.
Okay.
Keyshawn.
That
not Keyshawn.
Not Keyshawn. Shakur.
No, Shakur. Yeah, Shakur.
And so there's a couple other guys too, but their view is okay. So we're going to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into these kids. We got to take them to a place that's going to get the most out of them because all of our money's at stake. And I just believe this transcends race or culture. Mm-hmm. This is all about who can do the best job for me, and eventually it is about the money.
Yeah, I mean,
it's always about the money.
At the end of the day, contrary to the revolutionary popular belief, you know, contrary to that, the reality of the situation is, you know, when you're in a certain tax bracket, you see life totally differently than the people that's in a lower tax bracket than you.
Right, and also, Coach, another factor, just my view, is that if James Prince ever needed to talk to Bob directly, Coach, I've known Bob for a lot of years. Anytime I call him, he either answers and talks to me or says, Steve, let me call you back in 10 minutes. He always calls me back in 10 minutes. Bob is very accessible.
Yeah.
And Bob is actually a much better people person than people would believe.
Yeah.
Look, no one's perfect. Everyone knows what they're doing in this game. But if I'm James Prince and I need to get to the head guy to talk to him about an issue, I don't want to go through 18 different people to deliver a message. I want to get to the man himself.
Get to the man himself. You don't want to be like remember the hit show in the 70s, Charlie's Angels?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what Charlie did? Did the Angels ever find out what Charlie looks like?
No, it's just that intercom. It was just that intercom thing, that little box.
Hey, you know what? To this day, I don't think Crawford met Al Haymon. Like, for real, I'm dead serious. I asked that question. Listen, I'm dead. Listen, when I was in Omaha, I got a video I dropped. I interviewed Crawford. Let me ask him 2 questions. Everybody was there. ESPN was there. Showtime was there. Fight Hype was there. It was like a table. Omaha Day, right in front of his gym. And we just had to sit in front of the table, ask questions and stuff like that. I was the last guy to get a chance to ask him a question. He had his publicist, Julie, there. I don't know if you know Julie.
Julie Goldsticker, yeah.
Yeah. Julie was there. She the one that, she runs a tight ship. Julie runs a tight ship. So, but yeah, I asked, I didn't get a chance to ask him that, but I asked Bomac. Bomac like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if he met him or not, man. I don't know if he met him.
Yeah, I mean, so look, when you work with Top Rank, I do know this, and fighters have told me this, managers and trainers, and you have more than a few fighters, you have some success. They're very accessible, like their matchmakers, their publicists, the people that work in the front office, like Carl Moretti, Brad Jacobs. You can call them.
Yeah,
it's not like trying to reach the president of the United States. You don't have to go through a lot of barriers.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, man. Hey, Steve. Steve, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out to talk to us today. Everybody was excited. I know I'm excited. I'm happy that the 3 knockdown rule is back. One more thing. All right. So the Triller situation. So you guys are not with Triller anymore.
Thankfully, no.
Okay. So thankfully, no. So from this point forward, what can we expect from the 3 knockdown rule?
Well, just more shows. We're going to try to go weekly as much as possible. I know sometimes Mario has other things, but he's been good about, because we've all preached that we got to be consistent. We got to make up for lost time. The one thing that we're doing a little bit different now, Coach, is we're going to do a guest almost every show, just for 15, 20 minutes, like at Tarver. We had Bob Arum.
Oh, that's
and
great.
We had Joe Tessitore, Tim Bradley. Boy, Tim set it on fire when he said Dad should be banned from the corner or as a trainer. I was like, oh, my God. I mean, but, the thing is, and Coach, Tim. Tim can take the heat. He don't give a damn what you think. Hey, I'm saying he just doesn't care about the critics. I love that.
Yeah, Tim don't care. Tim don't care.
So this upcoming show, it looks like we're going to have Duran Boots Ennis on the program. First segment, he fights on Showtime next Saturday in Atlantic City against Roland Monvia. Well, we're going to do what we've always done. We're going to try to provide an entertaining and informative, fun show that has substance, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to try to bring boxing at the most honest, fun, entertaining level we possibly can on a consistent basis. Just like you do every day.
The thing is, you and Mario have great chemistry. Like, you guys really feed off each other. You know, I watch. You know, of course, I watch you on Jason Whitlock's show and stuff like that. It's like you guys, you and Mario have a very, very good. It's like y'all. I don't know. It's like you guys can finish each other's sentences. if you understand what I'm trying to say.
No, absolutely, yeah. Coach. You have to understand. Before we did the show, we did our first programs way back in terms of the 3 knockdown rule. I think back in 2015. So, but we'd actually had known each other and been friends since 2003. I think a lot of times what happens, Coach, is when people put shows together, there's a mistake that a lot of networks make. Let's try to get the 2 biggest names and throw them together and it'll work. It doesn't. Sometimes if the personalities do not mesh for whatever reason, the chemistry can never really be, I think, created unnaturally. Either it's there or it's not. So, Coach, if you're ever in a situation where you have to do a show with a partner, I would try to make sure that you actually know that person beforehand or vet them out. Because you can get the most famous or knowledgeable person in the world in any field, but and both of you could be great, but sometimes 2 + 2 will not equal 4. Sometimes it'll just equal 1 because it doesn't work. The chemistry has to be natural. It has to be created and cultivated. But if it ain't there, I don't know if you could just make it up.
Man, you know, man, Steve, I'm gonna let you know when I come back out to LA, man. I'm going on vacation. I'm gonna, you know, not be on the podcast for like maybe 4 or 5 days, and then you know, we got to go
back to trainings, brother. We got to have that boxing summit. You should have seen the last one we had. We had some other people there, and we'll do the round table again, Coach.
All right, yeah. I'll let you know. I'll let you know when I'm coming out. When I come back out that way, I want to see my family. You know, I told them my family lives off of Cimarron and 24th Street over there by the 10, right between Adams, Adams and Western. They live over that way.
Okay, that's not too far from me, and we'll make another trip around the gyms. We'll have a good time, man. And enjoy yourself. I'll be texting you during the fight. A big day. There's actually fights on the Zone. There's fights on ESPN Plus. And then we got Big Baby Anderson in one of his final fights of his career, Coach. We got to have a countdown. It's almost the end.
All right, Steve. Salute.
All right, brother. And all to your audience, thank you guys for everything. And everyone have a great weekend out there. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Steve Kim, round of applause. Yeah, man. Hey. Yeah, I fuss with Steve, man. I fuss with Steve, man. Steve Kim, that's my guy, man.
Man, I'm out of here, bro. Let's go.